Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Bhagavate Shri Sahajananda Swami Maharajaya Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Rama Narayanaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Divilingaya Namaha, Urdhvalingaya Namaha, Anandalingaya Namaha, Atmalingaya Namaha, Paramatmalingaya Namo Namaha. Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our exploration of the question of Vasana. Last several recordings tried to explain about various ways that Vasana can be understood. Today we will go into Vachanamrut by Bhagavan Swaminarayan, and this question is discussed in a very small Vachanamrut. Is Garada Pratham number 11. So the Gujarati is shown here on screen, and then here's the English version of it also. So I will go back and forth between both of them, so it's easy to understand. Before we go into this particular question-answer aspect that is in the Vachanamrut, the question of Vasana is perhaps the most significant question in spirituality. We have been examining it in terms of the energy within desire from last time. So I want to go along those lines and connect it with what Maharaj has talked about here in terms of this question of what is Vasana. So in the time of Maharaj meaning Sahajananda Swami Maharaj, there were a lot of Paramahansas. These were initiated sadhus who were at very high stage of their development. And in that higher stage of development, they had asked many questions, not just necessarily for themselves, but for the benefit of others who were not so developed. So sometimes these kinds of questions were asked. One of the very elevated and poetic saints was Brahmanand Swami during that time. So he asked Maharaj a question in Vachanamrut Garada number 11. So I will go straight to the question here. The question is, I'll speak in Gujarati, the actual line, then we'll go translate it, then we'll go word by word and try to open up the deeper meanings behind it. So this is the first part. Pachi Brahmanand Swami e puchu je, meaning Brahmanand Swami asked. So actually there's a setting here. The first paragraph is actually always where Maharaj was sitting and what he was doing. So here I'll read that also. Samvat 1874 Makshar Sudi 14 દિવસ શ્રીજી મહારાજ શ્રી ગરડા મધ્યે દાદા ખાચરના દરબારમાં વિરાજમાન હતા અને સર્વ શ્વેત વસ્ત્ર ધારણ કર્યા હતા અને પોતાના મુખારવિંદની આગળ મુનિ તથા દેશ દેશના હરિભક્તની સભા ભરાઈને બેઠી હતી. This is the tone, by the way, within which the Vachanamrut is read traditionally. Because of the divinity within it, it's a scripture, so that's why it's read this way. So what this basically says here, I'll show you the English translation, that on Makshar Sud 14, this year is Samvat 1876, which is November 30th, 1819, from our calendar. The Samvat calendar is the moon calendar. Shriji Maharaj, which is Sahajananda Swami, was sitting in Dada Khachar's Darbar. Dada Khachar was a devotee. He was like a regional king. They had these small kings over there. Garada is a village, actually. Darbar is basically the court of the king, like that. So he was dressed entirely in white clothes. Sahajananda Swami dressed quite a bit in white clothes. What is the significance of white clothes also? It is a representation of several things. One, it represents complete stability, purity, harmony, and integration of the mind, that there is no stain on the mind. So there is such a state. So we can say sattva guna, all that, but in the case of Maharaj, that doesn't apply. See, he's beyond the Sattva Gun. He's beyond the realm of Maya. But he's teaching. He's putting on this dress like this because every Sadguru or incarnation of God, whenever they are present, everything they do is for the purpose of Kalyan, for the others. They're teaching something in everything they do. And they are also trying to show that highest level of spirituality in whatever way that they can. Anyway, so there's a lot to be said about that. So at that time, an assembly of Munis, Munis meaning these sadhus, Tyagi sadhu they're called, renunciate sadhus, as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. Devotees meaning the householders. So there's a question asked, what is, Brahmanand Swami was present at that time, and he asked Maharaj, what is the nature of Vasana? Now that translation is okay, but it's not the best translation. So you go back to the Gujarati language itself. This is the actual question. Right here I've highlighted it. Pachi Brahmanand Swami e puchyu je, Hey Maharaj, Vasana nu roop shu che? See, this is a very potent. We need to understand the question carefully. First of all, when he says "Hey Maharaj" like this, he's speaking with respect. He's asking the enlightened being to give to shed light on this. See, this is the whole approach of the Vedic tradition, that an enlightened being is present, and who has not only the answer, but who is living in the state of the answer. See this point. Many people have answers. Like if you were to look up about vasanas and desires and Maya and all that, you would find an ocean of material online, just online, not to mention in the libraries and all. That's okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean the people who have written that, they are living in that state beyond vasana. That's fine. Whatever they've done is good. It's all beautiful. We respect it. We love it. We adore it. Fine. No problem. So one of the points that should be kept in mind as we move into this Vachanamrut, and we will spend probably next 1 week on these two paragraphs. There's so much in here. It will connect with Advaita Vedanta. It will connect with the psychology. It will connect with so many things. Buddhism, everything. Everything is in here. So we will put all the pieces together now and see where that leads us by the grace of God and all the great sages. So the fact is, Maharaj, meaning Sajanand Swami, as well as all the great saints who have come in the history of the world, they are speaking from their state of Anubhav. Sajanand Swami himself stated, Mari pratyaksh detail vache, Mara anubhave karine mein siddha kareli vache, in Gujarati. He's guiding us. He's saying that what he's speaking is from his Anubhav, from his realization. See, this is important, most important. We need to get to that stage also. See, all of these paramansas and devotees that were gathered around him, what is Maharaj trying to do? He's trying to bring them up to that level of Akshara Brahma, that you are the Brahman, you are that great divinity, you are beyond the Vasana, you are the Atma. He's trying to awaken that, right? But he is speaking from his own realization. Are there references given in the Vachanamrut? Yes. And by the way, just a quick reminder, Vachanamrut is a series of questions and answers on Brahma Vidya. So many questions are there in terms of the spiritual path. It is occurring in the context of the day-to-day routine going on during the time of Maharaj. Bhajan Kirtan is going on, different seva is going on, different other kathas are going on, Bhagavatam is being read, Gita is being read, Upanishads are being read, all scriptures are being read, and then somebody will ask a question. And then Maharaj will say, oh, okay, I want to say something. That is Vachanamrut. Those intermediate points where question answers occurred amidst the constant flow of contemplation. See the beauty of the setting. This is the kind of life, when we have this kind of life, it is the highest kind of life. It is the most extraordinary life where we have the time, the energy, the wherewithal, the interest, the effort to actually sit together and contemplate. It's called Manan Chintan. And if we have a physical enlightened being, like in this case, that's fantastic. Like in the case of Maharaj and Brahmanand Swami, etc. If we don't have somebody physical, now we have all this technology. We have countless gurus online, countless scriptures online. So many things are available online. So physical, if we have some physically awakened person that we go to, okay, beautiful. There's no question. But even in that situation, the setting is important. So see the context of Vachanamrut. Vachanamrut is not just somebody asking a question. It's not like that. The question is asked from the depth of Shuddha Mumukshutva, of only wanting to realize Paramatma. That is called a question. Remember what we mentioned before, that if a person is thirsty, super thirsty, then they say, I want water. I want water. I want water. Tivra mumukshutvam is that kind. So as other people can say whose belly is full, they're not thirsty, and you give them a bottle of water, okay, they'll take it, they'll take a sip of it, it's okay. They're not thirsty. The thirst, the inner thirst for the realization of God, that thirst has to be awakened. One of the other Paramahansas of Maharaj was called Nishkolanand Swami. And he said, Kholi kholi ne kholiyu khara kapavada ni khotare. Meaning that I have searched my whole life to see who is that pure soul who wants to realize God. He says, this is very rare. Quote meaning there is a deficiency in this world. We don't find people like that. So anyway, it is in the context of all of this that I've just stated that these questions are asked. Alright, so Brahmanand Swami is asking the question. Let's begin this now. He's asking the question, Hey Maharaj, Vasnanu shu roop che. He's asking, this is a very powerful question. He's not asking what is Vasna. He could have said Vasna su che. What is Vasna? No, he's saying what is the form of Vasna? What is the difference between these two questions? Why not simply say, please explain to me what is Vasna? But see, Brahmanand Swami is a very awakened being, and he's asking for the benefit of others so that they can understand clearly the form of Vasna. Now, what is that supposed to mean? Let's go back to J. Krishnamurti for a moment, where he has talked about the structure of thought, emotion, memory. That entire quotation we were looking at, an intelligent mind acts in the field of thought intelligently without resistance, and so it has energy. Remember that entire quotation? So that quotation, we will go back to this to understand this question. Okay, so just a second here. Let me find that again. 1 second here. Okay, here it is. Yes. So this question about the form is very, very important. It's important because here, let me do this. Stop the screen share just for a moment here. See, the question about the form, the structure of attachment. See this quotation of J. Krishnamurti. This actually has to be thoroughly grasped just to understand that question of Brahmanand Swami. Now you see the link here, and I don't know that people are making that link necessarily. You just read those statements in the Vachanamrita. They're written in short form, but they have tremendous power behind them. So the question is about what is the form of Vasna. Now, in this quotation, what is discussed here by J. Krishnamurti is that there is the intelligence that is awakened. And you will see that when the intelligence is awakened, there is energy that is the same intelligence, and it operates on thought. Now keep this point in mind. So remember, Vasna means desire, meaning wanting. It means that I want something or another. I want to have the experience that I'm looking for. That is called Vasna. So that is at least some understanding of Vasna. But remember, when the question is asked, what is the form of Vasna? That would mean that we would have the ability to detect directly within ourselves what is Vasna, that we can say, this is Vasna. That is why the word Rupa is used. Why the word form is used. It doesn't mean physical form. Our eyes can see physical forms. But the inner vision needs to see the form of Vasna, meaning the structure of desire. Now, how are we supposed to do that? That's what the whole answer is going to be. But before we get to the answers, we want to understand clearly what is the structure of desire. So for example, if I'm trying to look at my own desire for something, it could be anything, it doesn't matter what. I have one car right now, I want 2 cars. I don't know, I'll just use simple example. Doesn't matter. When desire is there, meaning ichha, wanting, I need to see directly, exactly and directly what it actually is. That perception of its form is what is asked about here. Vasnanu shu roop che, that the vasna, we all heard the word vasna. But he's asking Maharaj to clarify, to answer clearly, directly, because there's so much confusion in the scriptures also. Not in the scriptures so much, but there's so many ways it is described, and then people are confused inside. Oh, I have one desire, then I have another desire, then I have this, and then they're heard that they hear from teachers, get rid of vasana. Some people say increase vasana. Some people say don't ignore vasana. Some people say 100 opinions are there. And on top of that, the individual is caught completely in the vortex, in the confusion, in that confusion in their own life. They want one thing, then they're fighting against that, then there's a war going on inside. All this mess is happening. And that needs to be recognized. That's why the question is there. Why should anybody ask this question? The question is there because there's a problem, because there is suffering, there is a lack of clarity, there is this back and forth between vasanas, sadvasanas and sadvasanas. All this mixture is going on again and again and again and again. That is meant by structure. So we are going to try to unravel the structure of vasana through these 2 paragraphs, and then in connection, Vivek Chudamani and all the other beautiful scriptures that we have been looking at, to try to pull it together and see if we can pull it together within ourselves more than anything else. So that is the question. So now here's what Maharaj, he gave the answer this way. ત્યારે શ્રીજી મહારાજ બોલે છે, I'll say in Gujarati, then we'll go line by line, translate it carefully. ત્યારે શ્રીજી મહારાજ બોલે છે, પૂર્વે જે વિષય ભોગવ્યા હોય ને દીઠા હોય ને સાંભળ્યા હોય, તેની જે અંતઃકરણની વિશે ઈચ્છા વર્તે તેને વાસના કહીએ. So there's 2 answers he has given. The second one is, અને વળી જે વિષય ભોગવ્યા ન આવ્યા હોય, તેની જે અંતઃકરણની વિશે ઈચ્છા વર્તે તેને પણ વાસના કહીએ. So what is he saying here? What is the answer? The first part of the answer is this. He's saying, Purve je vishaya bhogvya ho. In the past, we have experienced or have gone into bhoga. See, the word bhoga is here. We have gone into so many different types of enjoyments in the past. That is called bhoga. The past enjoyments. Notice this point. Purve meaning actually, it's not just even this life. It's millions of lives of bhoga. That's what that is actually referring to. Purve je vishaya bhogvya hoy. The bhog that is there, the experience of enjoyment that is there. And then he says, ne ditya hoy, and the ones that we have seen, who are in this current life, through our eyes, ne sambhya hoy, that we have heard. So these are the 2 big main organs, right? Seeing and hearing. So he's emphasizing those 2. Others are also implied in this. Touch, taste, everything is implied. Then the most important point here, he says here, whatever those past experiences of bhoga are, through our senses, and then we have the experience of the bhoga. He says, Teni je antakarana vishe ichha varte. That means that inside the antakarana is man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. Inside the internal mental mechanism, that is the antakarana, there is ichha. As I mentioned yesterday, the desire. Ichha meaning I want. That is how ichha goes. It's not just wanting. There's an I. That's the me. That's the solidified psychological me. The perceiver, feeler, thinker, as per Swami Chinmayan's diagram. That's what that I is. So that me that says, I want this. You know how we feel that intense desire? That I want to experience this thing. Whatever the desire may be, that ichha. So when he says teni je antakaran vishay ichha varte. Varte means what? That it is come inside the present. In that desire, that wanting, that craving, that longing, the all of that thing has come inside the present moment. So that's where Buddhism comes into play, to be aware of the present, to be aware choicelessly, to recognize all the pain and suffering and that there's an end to suffering. Hey, believe it or not, this line up to this point here, he's defining what is vasana, and when he uses the word varte, if you really go deeper into that, all that means that that means that it's happening in the present. All activity is happening in the present. So all of those teachers that are talking about the present moment, and like Eckhart Tolle and all those other people, the power of now and all that thing, it's all implied in this one word. But people don't know that necessarily. But if you really open it up carefully and think about it, you'll see that anybody can see that that's the case. So what he's saying here is that the ichha, the energy within the ichha is present also there. Although you'll notice that Shakti is not directly mentioned again over here. And I explained to you the reasons behind that, some of the reasons why. But you have to understand internally that there is energy that is flowing within the ichha Shakti. And that is mentioned in other places in the Vachanamrut. So it's not like it's not mentioned at all. It is mentioned. It's very important that within the Antakarana, there is desire that props up within the Antakarana. Is it not our experience? Obviously. We have so many. If we examine our own life carefully, we would see that this is exactly what happens. That desire props up inside of us, in the Antakarana. And then he says here that is a definition of vasana. Varte tene vasana kahiye. He's given one of the ways of understanding vasana. That is given directly, that internally, when you are having this force of ichha that props up based on the past experience. Because this is another important point. The desires that pop up, they pop up partly due to the past enjoyments. And they say, I want that again. Wanting the repetition of that experience again. So in that repetition, there is enhancement. There is new growth of that vasana, further growth. There is a sense that it is brand new when it is not. This is one of the most interesting points, particularly in the addictions literature. If you go through the massive amount of addiction literature that is available in the world, one of the biggest challenges and mysteries in the addictions world is that when that desire props up to take the drug, to take the alcohol, to go and gamble, to go and steal, to watch pornography, to go to obsessive shopping, compulsive eating, whatever, any of those things, they're all together. When that opens up from within, it is as if one has never experienced it before. And the force is powerful. It is an intense energy that is going inside there to experience that bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. Like somebody takes heroin or cocaine, is it not bhoga? Of course. So all of the addictions literature is also embedded in this one line. This one line is not answering how to get rid of vasana, how to overcome vasana. That's going to come in the next paragraph. We'll cover that some days from now. But right now, what Maharaj is doing here, he is directly showing the form of vasana, how to detect what it is. How can anybody actually come out of vasana or even have any other desire to come out of vasana or to see its problems unless one can perceive it choicelessly? So this answer is an intimation, it is an indication, it is an invitation for choiceless awareness, for choiceless observation that this is vasana. Now Maharaj spoke this. These are words he spoke, right? Now what is our responsibility like Brahmanand Swami is asking at that time, and then in tradition up to now. Is this true? One has to question if this is true or not. See, I can simply say, okay, because I'm a devotee or I'm this or that, I believe what my guru is saying, all that kind of thing. वो बात अलग है. That is a kind of, that also has meaning, but we'll talk about that maybe some other time. But what is necessary is to examine if what is being spoken is true for me. Is this true for me? As I read that sentence, Purve je vishay bhogvya hoy, ne ditya hoy, ne samblya hoy, teni je antakaran ne vishay ichha varte, tene vasna kahiye. See, let's look at the English translation that they have provided here. See, it says that this is how the translation goes. Shiji Maharaj explained a desire within the antakaran to enjoy vishayas that have been previously seen, heard, and indulged in is called vasana. This is a good translation, not the best necessarily, but it's all right. So that this is the line. So a desire. This is what we're looking at. A desire within the antakaran. That's correct. Now again, the word desire, it's a good word, but it doesn't say everything. Because you need many words to understand ichha. The word is ichha in Sanskrit. Or in Gujarati here, the same word is there. In all languages, probably that, in all Indian language, the same word is there, ichha, I think. So ichha is the me, the desire, the wanting, craving, longing for all of these words. It's not just like some desire comes, it's not just like that. Some desire is there, but it's a pronounced desire. Sometimes we have some desire pop. Maybe I'll go for a walk right now. Some small desire comes up. Okay, but it's not very pronounced. So there are degrees of ichha. So I want to explain this point also, if I can. But we could spend the whole year on just this one line. There's so much stuff in here. It is really something. So when we say that this word ichha is what we need to detect. See, when Brahmanand Swami is asking what is the form of ichha, he is asking Maharaj, how can I detect that this is vasana? Right? See, interesting. So now go back to our EPE concept, thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. The fourth point, right? Thought, emotion, memory. Thoughts, emotions, and memories are not desires. I may have an emotion, but emotion is by itself, it's a certain feeling state. Of course, desire is always present in all of these. So they're not completely separate from each other, the five. And they're universal within everybody. So when we are directly seeing without disturbance, without distraction, without problems, without any kind of ego current that is causing bias, when we can perceive our own ichha, that this is ichha. That's what Maharaj is asking us to do by giving this clear definition. He's answering the question that is being asked, that the bhog that is there in the past. And if you really go into that, my God, how much bhog of what kinds of things are there? It's an oceanic thing, endless. And the desires keep coming up. The wanting is coming up. And then he says, when those desires come up, he's giving us the way to detect what is vasana. He's not simply giving some abstract definition that this called, some technical definition that many can give about the antakaran and the causal body and things like that. Those definitions are also there. They're also in Vachanamrut. But here he is giving a very practical, detectable definition.
Detectable is an adjective used to define as.
Echo, stop. This Alexa device went off, so try to define the definition. This is a very relevant thing in life. See, the ability for me to carefully, silently, with good perception, good quality energy, perceive what is vasana within me, and to recognize where it came from, how it works, to recognize the me that is behind that. That is all implied in this. So now there's the second part of the definition. The second part of the answer is as follows. અને વળી જે વિષય ભોગવ્યા ન હોય ને ન આવ્યા હોય તેની જે અંતઃકરણને વિશે ઈચ્છા વર્તે તેને પણ વાસના કહે. Meaning what? That the experiences we have not had so far. Now see how this is answered here. Moreover, a desire within the antakaran to enjoy those vishayas that have not been previously indulged in is also called vasana. So let's say, for example, if I've never sat in a high-class Mercedes or Lexus, or I've seen the cars, let's say, but I've never sat, hypothetically, if I've never sat in them, my God, how nice it'll be to even go in that car. Or like for example, the president's plane, Air Force One. How many people have gotten opportunity to go in with the president on Air Force One? Even if that desire is there, I want to go in there, how nice. And if you are in the political scheme somewhere and you have some opportunity might show up, you say, oh my God, I want to go there. Anything that you have not experienced. It could be a fruit, some new fruit that you've, like a persimmon or something. Somebody says, this is a very sweet, tasty fruit. Go and try it. Oh, really? Okay. I want to try that. I don't have that experience yet. So all the experiences that we want to have that we have not had is also called vasana. See the very practical, directly applicable definition here. Applicable in the sense we can detect. See, we can detect what is bhog. See, and je vishaya bhogvyama na avya hoy. That means that within our experience we have not had the opportunity or have not incorporated that experience within. And the desire for that experience is present is also vasanas. It's not just from the past. Some people believe that the vasanas are only from the past. That's not the case. Of course, the past is always the background. Of course. I mean, in some sense, you can say that you've seen a Mercedes car, you've seen the big airplane, you've seen this, you've seen that. So you've seen it, because you've seen it in the past, you want it. So in that sense, that part is correct. But that doesn't mean that I have enjoyed that yet. I want to enjoy it. Right? So these 2 points are here. Now, let's go a little bit further for a few more minutes, then we'll finish up. When desire comes up for something, whether it is from the past experience, whether it is for something which we have not yet experienced, when desire props up, at that time, our first and foremost step is to remember God and Bhagwan, because we want, our goal is God, so we remember them, and we look inside directly. Janpanu is called awareness. Say, this is vasana. Oh, wow. Very interesting. One should be curious about it. One needs to become a student of what is vasana within. To study vasana. To become a student of what is vasana internally. To recognize its flow of energy internally. To recognize how it has pulled the individual in countless directions individually. To recognize how those vasanas are growing and growing and growing even when they are satisfied. To recognize that when a person doesn't get what they want internally, the burning that happens, like the Cupid's arrows, Kamdev ka Ban, they're called the 5 arrows of Kamdev. Stambanam, and there's like the Mohanam, there's 5 of them. I have a book written in the book that I wrote on that. There's a whole section on that, the arrows of Cupid, they're called. But Cupid and Kamdev are similar. We say Kamdev, whatever. Anger comes about. You didn't get what you want something, then the anger comes. Then there are Bhagavad Gita shlokas, so many shlokas in the Gita we will cover to understand this nature of vasana further. We have not gone into them yet, but we will. And so we will use this Vachanamrut as like a lens through which to see all the other scriptures and all the points, because everything is hidden inside here. It's not hidden, it's there. If we begin to contemplate and do our sadhana and start looking, all the other scriptures open up also. That is the power of Vachanamrut, simply because Sajananda Swami had all that integrated within him. So he spoke from that complete integrated state. All the scriptures, his own anubhav, everything was flowing in a highly integrated manner. So these words are coming out that way. That they are the essence, the quintessence of the scriptures. So they're the quintessence of why Vachanamrut is considered to be quintessence, and his glory and his power is because of who Sajananda Swami was. He was the one who was able to, in his own life, pull all the pieces together. And then, of course, the devotees have written commentaries upon commentaries. Now, in the last 250 years or 240 years, there are thousands and thousands of pravachans, and there's all kinds of commentaries, and so many things have been written. People have done doctoral degrees on these Vachanamruts, and so many things. People have written great Sanskrit bhashyas also, so many. Shri Harivakya Sudha Sindhu. So much development occurred afterwards, and during the time of Maharaj and afterwards. And then big Vedantic texts have been written. So much has been done, right? Just like with the Gita, so many countless commentaries are there. But the Gita has its base as it is. So we are directly going into the main scripture, and then the commentaries are in the thousands. I mean, there's no end to all of that. And the videos and talks and everything else. Even right now, Sachin is trying to give some kind of exposition only for me, really, and as a seva. But there's no end to it, actually. That's how deep it actually goes. So anyway, one or two more points about this. That when a question is asked, the answer does not, or let's put it this way, should not remain merely within the intellect. What does that mean? Like we just read right now, 2 of the answers that Maharaj gave us to what is vasana. In other places, in other scriptures and the Vachanamrutam also, so many other ways are described. So many other things are described, but they all are talking about the same thing in different ways. We may intellectually understand, I may intellectually understand to whatever level I understand this. Okay, so what? That's fine. But we cannot stop there. The answer that he's given is not to be just accepted as a conclusion and then we still go in our old ways. No, not that type. The answer that is given is to be reflected upon. Manan Chintan, Nididhasan, reflection within. Is it true? Is it true for me? What is it? So you're bringing the answer inside for yourself. You've got to make it your own. I can read this Vachanamrut, I can talk about it, make some recordings, talk to people, do this, do that, all that kind of stuff. That is an external phenomena. Now, I sit for meditation, sit for dhyan, sit for manan chintan. I read the line and I internalize it. Read and internalize. Read and look within. Internalize not just in terms of blindly believing it, then I'm still cutting off my exploration. If I say, I believe this is true. How great. And I may understand it. I may even think about it. I may even go to talk about it. You even write book on it, let's say. Several books on it. So what? That doesn't mean I am examining the answer internally for my own development in my own life without any bias. It doesn't mean that. It means that I need to do that. I need to look at any answer, whether it's in the Gita, Vivek Chudamani, Vachanamrut, Swamini Vato, whatever, any scripture, Vedas, whatever scripture it might be. The Bible, New Testament, Old Testament, the Quran, anything, Guru Granth Sahib, whatever answer is given, where is the application of that answer in my life? I've got to see the truth of it for myself, and then the truth will awaken. if I don't take that step of bringing the answer inside and really reflecting on it and seeing it thoroughly, and when I start doing that with faith, by prayer to God and the Gurus for blessings, not just like ahankar, like you're just trying to figure it out. No, you always, with humility, you ask for blessings for that grace to dawn, krupa. Then how do we do? Then what happens? Something magical does happen. Things become very, very open from inside. You can see yourself what is vasana. Oh, this is vasana for me. This is vasana for me. This is a desire here. This is how this connects here. I can see it from all sides. That is the form, the rupa. Vasana nu shu rup se. That is the rup, actually. Rup means I can perceive directly myself what is the vasana, and that is where the Guru Tattva becomes active. The outside gurus who are enlightened, by connecting with their state, not just physically, but their teachings, their ideas, like here in this Vachanamrut, Maharaj is in the form of a Sadguru. He's teaching something here. He's giving an answer to a question. So this answer is coming from his own realization. Oh, this is vasana. And again, how he came to that, all those, there's a long history behind his own life and all that. There's so many ways of understanding it all. But we want to try to understand it very openly, clearly for the general public and for all of us, that these ideas in Vachanamrut are for the whole of humanity. It is not about a particular sampradaya or group. Groupism in terms of sampradaya. The word sampradaya technically doesn't mean group also. It means the experience or the anubhav that is transmitted from guru to guru to guru, from guru to shishya, and then that is replicated across thousands of people. So that process of transmitting that spiritual realization, that is called sampradaya. And people have used that word in the wrong way, and then groupism begins, and then sectarianism begins. When all that kind of stuff happens, the whole spirituality is killed. It's totally destroyed. That is not anywhere in any scripture by any great saint or incarnation of God or any enlightened being. No one has advocated that kind of groupism. That groupism is a deadly poison that is causing wars, conflicts, this nationalism, one nation versus another, one group versus another, one theory versus another, one person versus another, to the point of harming each other. So sampradaya doesn't mean that. And even within Swaminarayan Sampradaya, people within and outside, there's so much misunderstanding about this. I don't want to go into all that. It doesn't matter to me. It does matter, but it also, we're looking at our own development. So these words are for every human being. Even though it came in Gujarati, even Maharaj, he was not even from Gujarat. He was from the UP area. It doesn't matter. The enlightened being can pop up anytime, anywhere. But they are going to teach based on the circumstances, the people, the culture, the traditions, in the context of that. They're going to present themselves and present their teachings and present what they want to present is something beyond imagination. But that kind of understanding we need to have in this enlightened world. In this more technologically evolved world. We cannot act in a very unsophisticated manner anymore, just based on belief and blind faith. We have to awaken into the actual truths as they are and go and see them outside the limitations of culture, tradition, and language. I just want to make that point here because, people ask me all the time, which sampradaya do you belong to and what group do you belong to and which this thing. And Sachin belongs to everybody. And this Vachanamrut and Bhagwan Swaminarayan doesn't belong to any group, nor does the Bhagavad Gita, nor does Shankaracharya. Can you imagine somebody asking Shankaracharya, Shankaracharya ji, what small group do you belong to? That would be an insulting question. How terrible is that question? He's talking about the fact that you are the Brahman, the millions of universes are within. What kind of a question is this? What caste do you belong to? What is your favorite language? Can you imagine asking Shankaracharya, what is your favorite language? It's a most foolish question. Ridiculous. So if we are to evolve out of all of this, out of these limitations, we respect all the languages. They are there as a means to an end. Like this right now, this Gujarati language we're looking at. This is not about Gujarati language or Gujarati culture. It's a means to an end. It manifested there, so we respect that, we love that. But we have to see beyond that particular group, particular culture. And also see the glory and the beauty of the tradition too. We love the tradition, the culture, the tradition, the language, the beauty of the language. But what the language is referring to, as J. Krishnamurti had said, the description is never the described. We have to be able to see beyond the language into the direct truth that is within us all the time. And if we cannot do that, we will be stuck within these conflictual layers again and again and again. And you know the culture of India. There's so much inter-caste conflict, inter-language conflict in the sense they may not be physically hitting each other, but internally there's so much groupism at all levels. There's no chance of anybody getting enlightened. Impossible. It can never happen, not ever. As long as that groupism is out of our mind and we get to that point of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, these ideas like what is the Vishayas and the Vasanas, and these things are psychology, neurology, neuropsychology. These things are universal. Just like medical science is universal, these scriptures are universal. And to put someone like Sajanand Swami into one group, or to put Shankaracharya ji into one group, or to put any saint into one group, true saint into one group, it is the biggest insult towards that being. That is the most ridiculous thing. You cannot say that physiology and anatomy belong to people only of Indonesia. It's ridiculous. You cannot say that the ocean belongs to just one particular group. We have this Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. Even we have put all these names there. It's all false. We have created all these divisions. Put names, all the political boundaries. Human beings, the reality doesn't have any of those boundaries. We have created them. And then we are drowning in them, and that is also vasana. That is another way to understand, at the more global level, what is this craziness of this vasana? Me and the you, and wanting more and more and more, and grabbing land and power, and then what is the end result? Everybody's going to turn to dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Thou shalt return. In the Bible, Gunaditananda Swami, he said, "Rakhna padika prakriti purushadi rak." Rak means what the body is burnt away. That is called rak. What is left, ashes, and there's ashes all the way up to prakriti purush. This is the glory of the scriptures. This is the power of the scriptures. This is the power of the enlightened sages. And to put them into one culture, one group. They may manifest in one culture, one group. They may speak in one culture, one group, one language. They don't belong to any particular of these limitations. Even though they act within that particular culture group. See, there's a beautiful statement J. Krishnamurti made. The harmony between the known and the unknown. The harmony. We have to find their harmony. It's a different subject altogether. Some other time we will talk about that. But anyway, I will stop this here. And by the way, I will just mention this. Maharaj did say, I'm speaking from Nirdesh. That is the unknown. The word say unknown in the sense, the beyond. And here, this is Nirdesh, that which you can see. That is the harmony between the known and the unknown. You see the parallels. You see the connections. Language is different, but the truth is not different. Truth can never be different. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. Alright, so here we go. And we will stop here for today. We'll continue tomorrow.